So today we have with us the esteemed Candice Frost, and a Uniting Women in Cyber alum, speaker, and supporter of the Guild for many years. And thank you so much for joining us on this video diary, Candice.
It's wonderful to be here, Debbie. Thank you.
Okay, well, Candice, you're our See It to Be It spotlight, and this will be a record of that, and it'll also go on a written interview. And you've recently transitioned from being an officer in the military, coming into commercial life. So do you want to share with us all, what is your journey to cyber? What got you, how did you get to be in cyber?
Yeah, I was incredibly fortunate. I feel in some ways I was on the cutting edge of the ground floor when we really look at how cybersecurity in the Department of Defense began with signals intelligence, and how my career in the intelligence field had started to really lean itself in the emerging technology. This was even before cell phones were really popular. So you have to think back to when we were really targeting this space, whether it was electronic warfare with jamming or collecting, all the way up until I worked in the human resources and helped stand up the cybersecurity branch for the Army. At that point, I started to see the really interesting perspectives of both the IT sector that they had taken a portion of and the intelligence community, and then combine them together for the cybersecurity branch. Years later, I had the opportunity, after actually a great job in the Pentagon, no tongue in cheek, I really loved my job in the Pentagon, and had the opportunity to command at Cyber Command at Fort Meade. And from there, that's kind of where I finally got to flex those cyber muscles and lean into leading an organization of really intelligent individuals that looked at where the threats were in the cyber world. And so as a veteran, I finished the Army in 2023 and retired out of the Joint Intelligence Operations Center at Cyber Command.
Oh, lovely. And that allows you, I think, to speak to something that many people talk to me about, to say we're really interested as federal employees and military employees about cyber as a landing place, as a transition back to civil life. Those are my words, not their words. But you have recently gone through that transition. So for those out there that are either in that or recently through that transition, or might even be contemplating it, do you want to share a little bit about what led you to make the decision, why now, and helped you make the decision and have a successful transition as you have done?
I was incredibly fortunate to have so many great mentors that helped me in the business sector. And I can say, asking questions, trying to figure out where you would best fit early, it's very helpful. So I probably started this journey knowing approximately when I'd retire, about 3 years out, and then started to really look at planning. Hey, how do I want to make that exit from the military and transition into something else? I explored many different areas, whether it meant going back into government, looking at a position in Washington, D.C. as selected for an administration. I explored that area. I explored the intelligence community and the business sector, whether it was a part of the defense industrial base or the regular, really large IT sector. And I kept moving back to, where can I still submit some of the things that I had done in the past to the mission of today, but also learn new skills. I really recommend, especially to transitioning service members, to read the book, What Color is Your Parachute? That's one. And then also Strength Finders. That's one that really starts to help you understand, hey, where are those things that you don't understand that are incredibly valuable in the business sector, but you just don't know how to put your finger on it or name it. For instance, I really enjoy connecting. I'm a connector. I love to see where there are small pieces of information and how can I put that together and solve a problem. Another area that's a strength of mine is a lifelong learner. So those were both two skills that in the cyber community are incredibly important, because nothing's ever stagnant in this world. And that allowed me to continue to find an organization that both played to those strengths of mine and also allowed me to still have a toe in the mission of what we do.
So what colors your parachute was one book?
Yes.
That's nice. And leading and leaning on strengths, that's lovely because we all could remember that at most days.
Yeah.
So was there a defining moment that helped? Sometimes I wonder, sometimes it's easier to know what you don't want. Okay, when you're going through that process of trying to figure stuff out, and listening to the signs that tell you that's not right. Was there any defining moments for you? And I'm totally off script now.
Yeah.
It really helped you focus in because you explored a lot of areas. That was really diligent.
I definitely found myself saying, if the pit of my stomach dropped when I went into a building, listen to that.
Yeah.
I knew that I had lived in a skiff for so many years and I needed sunlight. That was important. Having the ability to really set my schedule. I have teenagers, and the fleeting moments left with them, I really didn't ever want to miss another track meet or a flag football game or just something that they participated in. It was very important that I could do that. So finding an area where I wasn't locked into something in an office was great. The fully remote is another area. I just said, I really do like to touch base and have that personal interaction, not needing every day, but to be able to reach out and touch someone is really important to me in the business itself. So, I had spoken with people on both sides in that area, and those were things I just said. Those are, I wasn't going to go 24/7 back into a skiff, but I could support that and continue to use my clearance for good, and found a business that did that for me.
Oh, nice. So it's important to give yourself the time and the process, I guess, is what I'm hearing, to really understand what's important to you in all aspects of your life, to know what the wrong thing looks like as much as what the right thing looks like. So that's cool.
Exactly.
Great. We often talk about the importance of and the presence and importance of a positive cyber mindset. When I use those words, what comes to mind for you? What does that mean to you?
To me, that definitely means a lot about resilience. Cyber is a field that just you may be trying to find the needle in the haystack, and you're doing the same, whether it's the same repetitive task over and over again. And then you're challenged with something new that is totally out of left field, and you weren't expecting that or ready for that. So resiliency is incredibly important. It's important in the cyber world anyway, but resiliency, redundancy, and also really kind of having repetitive tasks that you explore. Nothing should ever be totally not thought of. Like constantly exploring different areas in cybersecurity is incredibly important. So the what if scenarios, running through drills, that kind of mindset is important. Next, I happened to have dinner the other day with a CISO, and they had just been through a pretty large scale attack, and they were really calm. And I said, most people that are undergoing that, they just have a life-altering event that really causes them a disruption. And she said to me, we had rehearsed this so many different times. It was almost like we knew the inevitable would happen. We are at that point, and we could move forward because they were so prepared. And I think that's the difference of understanding, readiness and resiliency versus just hoping that a cyber attack won't happen.
Yeah, well, yeah, and we know now that it's not a case of if, it's a case of when.
Right.
And resiliency, through COVID-19 and everything else, it's less about avoiding and hardening yourself as much as it's about the ability to be able to bounce back, and how able you are to bounce back, and how quickly you can get back to some sort of equilibrium, if not normal. So those are really cool points, and they're so relevant to cybersecurity. You've been a big supporter, thank you, of the Cyber Guild, specifically our Uniting Women in Cyber event that happens each year. We're looking forward to this year. And you indeed have spoken at least one or two times, and were a great support to me personally last year when you helped with the planning team. Do you want to talk a little bit about those who haven't been and joined our community, what they're missing, but what's most memorable for you, and Why are you here today to help us advocate for Uniting Women in Cyber and the Cyber Guild?
I think it's really important, especially the work that you've done to pull people together. Your conference that you built isn't one that's got rock star singers and huge auditoriums. I mean, it is a very intimate nature where you're going to have conversations with people that you might read about in the papers or not have the opportunity to connect with. And it's not just a one-time thing. I have actually met people through your organization that gave me great advice as I transitioned. I attended a session on sitting on a board, and afterwards was able to join a board, and I understood the function and where to go and what to look for. So those kind of like practical experiences were really worthwhile. So many things also focus on just the initial entry level, and then at the very top, getting that very large CISO role. But there's a muddy middle that I think many people don't target, and your organization does that with other women that are willing to put their hand out and help others up. That is a rarity in the cyber world. And we're 27% of the workforce right now. We're continuing to grow, which is awesome, but we still need to be there and support each other. And I think the Guild really offers that opportunity to so many people.
Yeah, and I remember, I know that you weren't at this meeting, but we had the privilege of Lightcast, who are the data analytics behind cyberseek.org. They launched their data pack with us last year in June, and one of the stark metrics they shared with us was that I think nearly 40% of women have left cybersecurity since 2019. So we're making great inroads, but women are still, still bear the brunt of the lives that we have to live holistically, and we are still losing women. So people like you showing up, honestly, I think things like that can make a difference. So appreciate that very much.
No problem. It is that leaky pipe. Unfortunately, biology doesn't change itself. But what I love about the cyber field is technology changes so much that you can always come back. That's what I love about the cyber field is just, again, you don't need to get 1,000 certifications, but really brush up. And there's so much out there that's free that big organizations want you to bone up on their skill, their software, their organization, that they're literally giving it away for you to take opportunities to learn and grow and then jump back in.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just dig into that a little bit. You opened up the conversation there about skills and credentials. Once again this year, Lightcast and Site will come back, and we will launch the cyberseek.org new toolkit. They were sponsored by the ONCD last year in response to the White House strategy to come up with a toolkit for diverse hiring or hiring for skills, I should say, toolkit. And we'll actually be launching that in June. And we are a big advocate here for respecting credentials and respecting the science and the tradecraft of cybersecurity, whilst also recognizing the opportunity that transferable life experience and skills can bring that can translate into this amazing field. Do you want to talk a little bit more from your perspective about translation of skills and experiences and how cybersecurity can be a place to translate those into a meaningful career, and where credentials sit in that? What thoughts do you have and advice might you have?
So I think this goes out to all the HR reps that are out there, asking for the impossible to happen. We need somebody with 19 years of experience on whatever system, and the system's only 5 years old. This happens quite often. So this is a whole of a business problem that is really gotta be reached into to say what are the things that you really need. For instance, individuals that are musicians, journalists, they can understand foreign languages. They have the mental capacity and skills to do very well in cyber. There are things that are just recognizing patterns, especially people that, you think you have to have that incredibly heavy STEM background. And that's not to negate the amazing work by so many people that do that. But cybersecurity is a really big tent. And this tent's got to have different people that are coming towards big problems with different perspectives. I jokingly say, I come with a political science background and a systems engineering minor. So I was not one of the first on keyboards. As a matter of fact, I did not get a great grade in my first computer science class. But I did understand, I had a penchant for curiosity and understanding where there are problems and how to plan to, go after those problems, how to lay out a team, that arena. There are so many nonprofits out there that will help you with certifications that take advantage of that, but just understand yourself. And I think that's why I talk to Strength Finders as a book to read, is that you have an amazing amount of skills that you may not recognize tie directly into what people are looking for in cybersecurity.
Yeah, no, for sure. So bouncing off that, really, what life experience or qualification, however you want to take that question, do you think most set you up for the success you're enjoying now?
Wow, I would say what really set me up for this was just the insatiable appetite to understand pivots are a part of life, not an exception. And so the more you prepare for that next phase step, the better off you'll be. Life is going to throw you some curveballs. I had several that were tossed at me. I did not expect to be a single mother for as long as I was. And I realized, okay, I have to pivot my life to meet where I'm at right now. There are some like that are very hasty. And then there are others where transitioning from the military, I deliberately tried to plan the best that I could for really understanding what's on the other side. And so those who are in college right now, deliberately planning, you go through and you're just grinding for 4 years straight to get that degree. And then all of a sudden, not understanding, hey, I need to talk to people my sophomore year, my junior year of college, and figure out where areas I want to go into and where they're just not me. Because every organization, place, field, they have personalities. And when you find places that like your energy is high, you leave there just like shaken with goodness. That's the kind of place you should be, that insatiable hunger that you want to come back. If you feel the hair on the back of your neck creeping up, probably listen to that, pay attention to yourself, and realize that may not be the place that is best for you as a workplace or a field you go into. But just the more you experiment and the earlier you do this, the better off you'll be.
Oh, that's nice. And that's so true. Hey, what would you tell your younger self? If only you knew then what you know now, what would that be?
I would definitely tell my younger self to savor the moment a bit more. I think I was very focused, and it negates all the things I just said. I was very focused on planning so many things out, and life goes by fast. So those individual moments, I remember when my kids were smaller, and I would just say, I would take a mental picture and say, oh, I just want to freeze this. If I could only bottle it and then drink it up when I'm having a rough day, like that goodness. I want more of those goodness moments. Even at work, I have found a real passion for, crossing the finish line, solving a really hard problem, and the people around me. Those are areas I would say to just take a step back and recognize those who are on your left and your right, and then you get the privilege to either lead or manage, and spend more time with them and less time always looking up. I think we are a culture that forces us to keep making sure that everything is good with the boss. And sometimes it's those people that you have the privilege to be around that will pay the most in dividends in your entire life, and the purpose and meaning that you take out of it.
Oh, no, totally. So you started to talk there about your sphere of support, that I believe the more you protect and grow that, you also grow your sphere of influence. One of my sayings that I did not create. I heard it and thought it was lovely. Goodness comes through me as well as to me. Remembering that can be a challenge sometimes. Who were the biggest influencers in your life?
I would definitely say a lot of the mentors that I had in the military were really people that I could look up to and figure out what is it that makes them them. And studying people is a part of my job, and I would figure out what are the schools that they went to, what do they read, what do they spend their time on, what activities, and how can I bring that goodness and light into my life. And so by seeing them overcoming adversity, by understanding the path that they chose, really inspired me. Even to this day, one of my favorite mentors, we just had coffee, and she discussed about her move and starting her own company in South Dakota, of all places.
Oh, wow.
And the fact that she's still in the cyber arena, building an entirely new business model out there. And I draw inspiration from that because I see how people are just in their particular location and phase of life and understanding and watching others, how they've done that. And it inspires me to be able to take those steps in the future.
Oh, wow. So just a few light-hearted things to finish with. What's on your bucket list?
Wow, my bucket list every year is to definitely take the Eleanor Roosevelt quote of do something daily that scares you. So I try and plan something, whether it's usually something pretty physically daunting. Last year, I rode on the Register's annual Great American Bike Ride across Iowa, RAGBRAI, which was a very long, over 500-mile bike ride. This year, I am fortunate enough to get to hike Moab, and it's a pretty technical, skilled climb that I will take on. And yeah, I think the future years, rim to rim Grand Canyon, just one a year where it keeps me very motivated to do something a little crazy, but to see another part of the United States, which I just love.
Oh, so wishing you all the best in this next chapter, not the last chapter, but certainly the next chapter. And we'll see you in one of our events, if not at Uniting Women in Cyber soon.
Sounds fantastic.